It's his turn now, guys. The god of stamina, called Phantom Orion BD, one of the Beys that make up the 10 legendary bladers. Man, this is one of the best stamina type Beys, and I'm super excited for us to analyze every detail of this beast. Shall we get started? Well, zooming in here on our box, we can already see some of the details, right? At the top, we see that it is a Takara Tomy Bey from the 4D system, which spins to the right and is of the type Resistance. At the bottom, we have here the Beyblade of our Phantom Warrior, known as Chris, the Beyblade mercenary, right? For many, he is not one of the best characters among the 10 legendary Beyblades, or even in the Beyblade franchise in general. A lot of people dislike him because they didn't really know how to make good use of him or develop the character. And also, some people don't like his reasons and objectives, but I think he's a pretty cool character. However, what I actually like about him is the Bey he has, which is the Phantom Warrior, right? And on the side, we have here the constellation of Orion represented on the box, which is really cool. Taking a look at the back, we have a bit here about the parts that make up our Bey and its two modes, which are stamina mode and attack mode, which I'll be explaining during the review. With the parts disassembled, let's analyze each one of them, piece by piece. Let's go. Starting with our first piece, we have the face bolt, which is our screw in a translucent golden color, which is really cool. But the real beauty is here in the beast image on our face bolt, which is the Phantom Warrior, right? This concept of this spectral face is really cool. Of the spectral ghost that they put here. They could have easily gone with the hunter theme with his bow and arrow and everything else we see in the Orion constellation, but they chose to go with the ghost of Orion instead. So they did a great job representing this ghostly face on the face bolt, making it look really beautiful, right? The palette of the inner blue, this orange around the dark part, looks really beautiful, forming the face of a very fierce ghost. Right after that, we have our Clear Orion, which is a real clear in a wine color, purple. Very simple, as you can see, there's nothing special about it, but if you take a closer look, you can see this inner shine it has, you know? These shinier little dots, that's what I explained in previous videos about the 4D system, which is the metal powder added in this generation, bringing more weight to the clear wheels. Now, its design, right? Its cutout, as we can see, isn't completely circular, so that it doesn't have such a centralized weight distribution. It's more spread out toward the edges, because the concept of this Bey is to have more weight on the outside than on the inside. And this will make more sense when I explain the next parts. Anyway, now we've reached the two main parts of this Bey, which are the fusion wheel called Phantom, where we have the metal frame and the core. Looking at the core here, we can see that it's a pretty simple piece in a translucent lilac color, which is actually quite beautiful. It's a very light plastic piece, really light, which is the center of our fusion wheel, which is kind of unusual to see since the central parts of beasts are usually made of metal. The Phantom Warrior doesn't have that, since it's not a Bey designed to have centralized weight, but rather to distribute its weight along its edge. And this becomes even clearer when we look at the metal frame part. With the metal frame in hand, we can clearly see this, which is its weight distribution around instead of the center, since it has a big hole here in the middle, right, to fit the core. Because of this, since its weight isn't here in the central part, it's distributed along the edge, so much so that its two metal parts here on the edges are quite thick when we look at it from the side, right? So we can see. So its weight is on the outside. Why is that? It's to prevent it from wobbling during battles, which is actually a weakness of stamina Beys when they start to wobble too much. It ends up losing balance and losing stamina, and then it stops spinning. So, because of that, it helps prevent this kind of thing, making this Bey more stable. And the coolest thing about all this is when we look at these stickers, which give a really nice design to the top part of our Phantom, where we can see that these 4 blue dots here, these 4 little circles, are the stars that make up the Orion constellation, which gives it a really beautiful look. And we also have these 2 purple stickers in the center part, where when the clear rail is attached here, it forms the face of the ghost, right? Here would be the eyes, and on the metal part, in this case, this part here, would be the ghost's mouth. Both in this part and in this other one here. And when we turn the metal frame to this position here, we switch it to its other mode, which is the attack mode. It's not a mode that's used very often, especially since this Bey is a stamina god, so why would you ignore its stamina to use attack? It doesn't make sense. And we understand the attack mode better when we look at it from the side, right? Because its contact point is exactly where the ghost's mouth slit would be, right? This thicker part of the metal is where it makes contact during its attack mode. This mode isn't used that much, it's really the stamina mode that's used because this is the god mode of stamina, man. And right after that, we have here our stamina tip from the 4D system, which means it's the combination of the track and the tip known as bearing drive. Because guys, here is the most overpowered tip in Beyblade in my opinion, man. If I'm not mistaken, there are only 2 tips in the entire Beyblade franchise that have their own bearing. Because yes, this tip has its own bearing. If I'm not mistaken, it's just this one and the one from Wolf Bar, which was the Bey from Tala in Beyblade Bakuten Shuten from the first generation of Beyblade that also had a tip with its own bearing. And they brought this concept back here for Phantom Orion. And the Bora Drive, because it has its own bearing, makes it the tip that spins the longest in the entire Metal Fight Beyblade saga. It can spin for 7 to 8 minutes non-stop, man. This tip is really good. First, because of the spin. Because it has its own bearing, it spins the base part, and that helps a lot, especially with the left of the death system, which is the system I explained to you before, where when the Bey is about to stop spinning, it gets 1 extra spin because the tip spins the body of the Bey, which is really good. Anyone who uses longs in Beyblade Burst knows what I'm talking about, but this takes it to a whole new level. What's also really cool is that when we look at it from the side, we can see that this tip isn't that sharp, it's not that pointy, which really helps prevent it from wobbling, right? For example, the Libra frame has this problem, and the Sagittarius frame has this problem too, right? So it's an amazing tip, man. There's nothing else to say except that this is the best stamina tip ever released in Beyblade, at least in my opinion. Well, enough talking, let's put this beast together now. To assemble it, we're going to take our metal frame and our core here. And to fit them together and choose between the 2 mods we want to use, it's simple. We're going to leave the metal frame in this position and the core in this position. To do this, you'll fit it into these 4 holes it has, 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. Once the core is fitted, you'll have the stamina mode. To activate attack mode, you just need to flip it. You take this out, flip the metal frame, and then fit the core in the same way here. And now you have an attack mode. However, as I said, it doesn't really make sense to use attack mode for Orion because, man, it's simply the god of stamina. So let's use the stamina mode. All set. Now we're going to take our clear reel and put it here. Done. We turn this upside down, take our tip and fit it in. Into the hexagonal design here, right? All set, it's fitted in. We go back to the top part, take our face bolt, screw it in here gently by hand, and finish tightening with the tool, but not too much so it doesn't break. All done. And this here is the majestic Pentorian bearing drive, man. The god of stamina type. This Bey is insane, man. Look at these colors, dude. Check out these details. When we fit the clear wheel with the fusion wheel, you can really see the ghost's face, right? Both eyes and the mouth. Man, this is so cool, seriously. I'm crazy about this detail. I also really love the detail of the stars from the Orion constellation. And I think every single detail of this Bey is really well thought out. And its colors, right? The yellow, the lilac, the wine purple, and so on. Everything is just so beautiful. But I want to test this monster. I want to see this stamina god in action. We're going to test both modes, attack and stamina. But you'll understand why its stamina mode is the main one. So we can see if this thing here, it's really good. But before we do the battle test, I want to ask you to leave your like and subscribe down below because it's really important for you to do that. And also become a member because by becoming a member, you help bring more products like this, more majestic videos like this one. Anyway, by doing that, you help the channel a lot. So enough talk, let's get to the battle tests of the legendary Phantom Warrior. Well, guys, let's do the battle test of our Phantom Warrior. And to start, I want to challenge Fanglione. In other words, I'm going to use Phantom Warrior in resistance mode against Fanglione in his defense mode, okay? Let's go. So let's start here by spinning the Phantom Warrior since it's a resistance type kiss. I turned it straight. And Fanglione too. Throw it straight. Let's see how this goes. Man, I don't think Fanglione stands a chance here, man. Phantom Warrior is really solid. Like, really solid, man. There's no way. Look at that. It's managing to push Fanglione out of his comfort zone, trying to get him out of the center zone of the arena, right? Because that's where Fanglione dominates. But when you're up against Phantom Warrior, there's just no way, guys. Look at that. Fanglione's stamina is already running out, while Phantom Orion is still at 100% with its stamina, draining all the energy and finishing off Fanglione. What a solid beast, man. No wonder this bee here is called the god of stamina. Alright, now we're going to test the other 2 modes, so I'll set Fanglione to attack mode and Phantom Orion to attack mode as well, okay? Let's go. Let's launch Phantom Orion, and now let's launch Fanglione. Wow, what a hit Fanglione landed from underneath Pentorian, huh? What a beautiful move, but alright, both are centered again as usual, but we can already see a more aggressive pattern between the 2, right? Since both are in attack mode, Fanglione is hitting Phantom Warrior from underneath, leaving it completely off balance, but will the... Wow, but Phantom Warrior is managing to hold on. Wow. Oh, is Fanglione going to take it? Or will it be Phantom Warrior to the left, left, left? It's really close, damn. Look, Phantom Orion took it. It spun for just one more second there, giving the win to Phantom Orion. But we can already see a pattern here. Fanglione in attack mode worked well against Phantom Orion, really put it to the test. Its stamina, while not trained, actually wore down Phantom Orion's energy. This is really cool, okay? Alright guys, now I want to do some battle tests between Phantom Orion and Flare Sagittario, two stamina type Beys. And I'm going to use Phantom Orion in stamina mode against Flare Sagittario in attack mode for the first round, just so we can see how it goes. Shall we? Okay, I'll start by launching Phantom Orion really straight, and I'll also launch Flash Sagittario straight. Wow. What a hit from these two monsters. They both landed such a blow that they were both thrown out, man. Insane, insane. Let's go for another round here. This time I'll launch Flash Sagittario first. And now Phantom Orion. Man, that hit they just landed was insane, bro. It's the duel to decide who is the best Bey of the Fork System stamina type, guys. Look at that. Phantom Warfare is hitting the track of Flash Sagittario. Even with Flash Sagittario's track, it's not able to absorb it. And Phantom Warfare with its insane, colossal stamina, man. It doesn't even look like it was battling, dude. It looks like it's spinning here completely untouched, man. What a beautiful thing. What a wonderful victory for our Phantom Orion. Well, now we're going to do the opposite test where I'll use Flash Sagittario as a stamina type and Phantom Warfare I'll use as an attack type. I want to see how this contrast turns out. Let's go! I'll use Sagittario, I'll launch it at a slight angle, and I'll keep Phantom Orion straight, okay? Whoa, wow, what a hit, guys. What was that, guys? Wow, but that hit completely destabilized Flash Sagittario. What a wonderful thing. Victory for our Phantom Warrior. Well, now I want to do a legendary battle test here between Pegasus and Phantom Warrior. A really cool battle that actually happens in the anime. I'm going to use the standard mode here. Home direction mode for our Pegasus against the stamina mode of Phantom War. Look at that. I'm going to launch Phantom War really straight, and I'm going to launch Pegasus at an angle so it starts hitting right away. There we go. Okay. Man, the way Pegasus spins, right? This big bearing Pegasus is really nice, isn't it? Look at that. It doesn't get completely out of control. Look at that. Pegasus activated its final drive, but Phantom War is holding up well, man. Phantom War is just too solid, guys. Way too solid. It's so solid. Look at this. Look at the beast that is this Phantom Orion, man. Because its center of gravity is distributed to the edges, it barely gets unbalanced. Did you notice that? And it also stays really centered at the same time, which is kind of odd because its metal weight isn't in the middle, it's on the edges. It doesn't go flying out of here. Man, this Bey is ridiculous, dude. Now I'm going to test the smash attack from our Pegasus against Phantom Orion's attack mode. Let's go! I'm going to launch Phantom Orion and tilt Pegasus. Actually, I set it to upper attack, okay guys? Okay. We're seeing an interesting pattern here. They're both sizing each other up. Even with Phantom Warrior in its attack mode, it doesn't behave like an attack type Bey, obviously because of its tip, okay? But still, it's really interesting to see the two of them here, look. Pegasus activated its final drive, but even so, it's not enough to drain Phantom Warrior's energy. Phantom Warrior is extremely solid, guys. Extremely solid. But we can see actually that it's almost similar, right? Like, you don't really notice that much of a difference when we set it to attack mode. It's just that its attacks, this is why it's called attack mode, become more aggressive, right? So it doesn't lose as much stamina as I theorized, at least in my analysis. But okay, that's cool at least. And now, to wrap things up, let's have a battle here between El Drago Destructor and Phantom Orion. I'm going to use El Drago Destructor in its Absolve remote mode. So let's go. Let's use Phantom Orion here. And now El Drago Destructor. Alright, the launcher is tilted. This guy is going crazy. His initial attack pattern is like this. Standard. Now yes. Now its stamina mode is activated. It's managing to absorb a bit of stamina with its rubber. We can even see Phantom Orion losing a bit of its stamina. But there's an interesting battle going on here. Since as long as Phantom Orion's stamina allows, and here it is. Our El Drago Destructor is going to be able to absorb, right? See how Phantom Orion is even losing stamina? First time we're seeing this, huh? Thanks to Eldrago Destructor's rubber, we're seeing Phantom Orion lose stamina, guys. But will it be enough? Will it be enough to drain all of Phantom Orion's energy? Oh, will it? It did! Phantom Orion did it! Oh, whoa! Eldrago pushed it to the limit here. Eldrago pushed it to the limit, guys. Well, now I'm gonna test Phantom Orion in attack mode against the other mode of our Eldrago Destructor. Let's go. I'm going to launch Orion here. And now let's launch Eldrago Destructor. I think this mode of Eldrago Destructor isn't going to do well against Phantom Orion here because it won't be absorbing. Actually, no. It's being really aggressive here. Wow, it landed a good hit there. But Phantom Orion is just too good, man. There's no way around it. Even so, this Bey is really solid. It almost lost its balance. When the Bey gets tilted like that, it loses stamina. But since it's not in its absorber mode, it won't be enough to drain that much energy from Phantom Orion. Apparently, right? Because both of them are wobbling a lot now, huh? Yeah, even so. Look, but it managed to make Phantom Orion wobble. Look. Look at the man, stopping with style. This Bey is insane. It's my favorite, no doubt about it. And those were the battle tests of our Phantom Orion, guys. An incredible battle. He went all in against everyone, won every match in both Sinister modes. So that's it, guys. Like, subscribe, and see you next time. Let it rip!